You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves make it 4 in a row. They just keep beating up on this Eastern Conference, man. 131-122, that's the final tonight against Cleveland. What's going on back in the lab, back at it? Another T-Wolves postcast, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which, thanks to you guys, #1 sports podcast network. Jack Borman, Wolves expert, NBA expert. Follow him on X, at Jared Borman13, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. And, of course, you got to follow our guy, Ben Beacon, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show each and every day as well. Lots to get into here, Jack. A game MVP, biggest turning point, plus what we'll be talking about tomorrow as well. But like we always do, just off the top here, Wolves continue this kind of long stretch against the Eastern Conference. 10 of 11 for the Wolves when you count these two with Cleveland here back-to-back. Tonight, back at home against the Cavs, 21-17 the Cavs were coming into this one, so 4 games above 500. They go down 4, headed into the locker room, but come out with maybe the best third quarter of the year, 43 points, 21-point advantage, kind of ballooned that lead back up to 20 for them in that third quarter. Cavs wouldn't go away quietly into the night, though. They made us sweat it out in those last couple minutes, but Wolves do hold on. 4 in a row, 4 guys with 22 points or more tonight, Jack. Julius, team high 28, and the Wolves push their record now up to 25-13, 12 games above 500 on the year. Feels like this team, we'll get into it, starting to really heat up right now, Jack. Top 2, maybe 3 biggest takeaways, though, that really stuck out the most tonight.
Yeah, I just think it was really important for everybody in the arena to be able to come together and celebrate a Timberwolves team. Just given the tragic events of the last 36 hours or so, it was a super joyful crowd, a great vibe in the arena, and just a super joyful Wolves team playing tonight, which was fun to see. It was a very good win against a very talented and healthy Cavaliers team, and the Timberwolves are now just a game and a half out of the 2 spot in the Western Conference. Which, if I would have told you on New Year's Eve that the Wolves could be in a situation like that. Just a week later, I think everyone would have kind of thought that, we all might be crazy, but that's where they are. The Wolves are now 10-7 in clutch games. Cavs just 8-14, a huge reason why they've been underperforming this year. Wolves now have more wins against the West or the Eastern Conference than any other team in the West with 12. They're 12-3. And it was just good to see the Wolves, really shoot the ball efficiently. They had some turnover issues. They had 17 turnovers for 24 Cavaliers points, both numbers pretty bad, but the Wolves shot the lights out. I mean, they were 61% on 2s, 53% on 3s. They score 131 points in the game. Timberwolves now averaging 126 points on this 5-1 stretch that they've been on. And it's just been really nice to see the Wolves be able to get it done in different ways. I think, with you, when I've gone solo, I've talked about the Wolves' efficiency inside the arc and their ability to score in the paint, which has really driven, the bulk of their wins the last 10 days or so. And they did so, again, for the most part tonight. The Cavs been really good at as a team defending the rim. They allow the second lowest field goal percentage at the rim of just under 62%. And they've been second in the NBA in terms of fewest points in the paint allowed over the last 5 games at 40 points per game. Timberwolves tonight shot 78% at the rim on 23 attempts. That's 17 points better than what the Cavs have been giving up. That would be first in the league if you extrapolated that over a whole season. And then they were 25 of 37, 68% in the paint, scored 50 points in the paint. 11 better than what the Cavs have been giving up. So that's been so that was really good to see. And the Wolves are now 18-5 when they score at least 50 points in the paint, which is league average. So just anytime they're able to produce at a league average rate below the arc, they've been winning games. And the reason for that is because they're a really, really good 3-point shooting team. And the Timberwolves made 23s tonight on 38 attempts, better than 50%, 52.6%. And that's the third time the Timberwolves have made at least 23s in a game this season. And again, you just look at the way the starters shot the ball from 3 was absolutely phenomenal in this game. And they sorely needed it just because it was not a very good night for the Timberwolves bench. But, the great thing about this team is that it's well-rounded enough for the most part where they're able to just find ways to win games. And that was because the starters made up for a really slow bench start. The bench didn't score in the first quarter. that Naz Reid flying put back from the left corner at the 7:26 mark of the second quarter was the first bench points of the game for the Timberwolves, and Naz didn't score again until the fourth quarter when he made a couple of threes that were, ended up being really important in the final tally of this game. But yeah, I just think, looking at the starters tonight, what they shoot, 17, 13 of 24, 16 of 28 from three from your starters is pretty darn good in a game like this where you need, every bucket that you can get. 112 points from the Timberwolves bench tonight, which I believe is the most they've scored in any game this season. The Timberwolves now 7-0 when all five guys in the starting lineup score at least 10 points. And they're all in double figures by halftime, which is pretty for the Wolves. And they did that against Miami too the other night. All five guys are in double figures. Naz is in double figures as well. He was just shy of that with 9 points tonight. And then Jaden and Dante, right, really turned it on. I think we've kind of been clamoring for both those guys to be more consistent offensively over the last 2-3 weeks or so, and they both were excellent tonight. They combined for 48 points, which is the most they've combined for in any game this season. They shot 19 of 27 from the floor, 9 of 14 from three. And the Wolves, 11-4 when the two of those guys combined for 30 or more. That's a 60-win pace. They're 13-9 when they score 29 or less. That's a 48-win pace. So that's probably the difference between, the 2 seed, maybe even the 1 seed this year, and a seed closer to like 6 or 7. Yeah. So,
yeah, well said there. Let's hand out some flowers with our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
You mentioned it, Jack, the Miami game just 2 nights ago, 6 players with double digits early on there. Tonight, they raised the ante, 4 guys with 22 points or more. Julius leading the way, 28 points. Jaden, you mentioned it. He stays hot with 26. Ant with 25, and DDV, man, 22 points, 6 of 10 from 3. Pick one, though, Jack. Tonight's player of the game for the Wolves. Who was it and why?
Yeah, it's Julius Randle for sure. I just thought the tone that he set right away out of the gates was absolutely incredible. He accounted for 9 points in the first 90 seconds of this game. He had a lob to Anthony Edwards right away, made a 3, had 2 assists in transition to Jaden McDaniels off of rebounds, and then hit another 3. And so it was really good to see Julius kind of turn some of his 3-point shooting around. Since the start of that New Year's Eve game in Atlanta, he's now 10 of 22 from 3, which is 45%. That's a really welcome improvement because, he was in the mid 40s in October, then in the low to mid 30s in November, and then shot 29% from 3 last month, excuse me. So really good to see his 3-point shot fall and him be willing to take more of them. For him to take 7 threes and make 3 of them, that's awesome. I think more of his willingness to take and make those, I think the more it's going to, be able to open up his drive and kick game. And on the first half, I was pretty floored when I saw that Julius was plus 11 while Naz was minus 15.
Yeah.
And that's a 26-point differential is pretty massive. And looking at the final box score tonight, 50-point differential. Yeah. Randle was a plus 31 in his 35 minutes, and Naz was a minus 21 in his 24 minutes. And when you consider how often those two guys play together on the court, that's pretty striking that ended up happening. But the Wolves tonight with Julius on the floor, 67% from 2, 53% from 3. So pretty ridiculously efficient offense while Julius was on the floor. And then we'll get into it in a little bit as well, but personal 7-0 run to start the third quarter. Set a really good tone when this was totally anybody's game at halftime. It had kind of a weird energy to it, especially with Rudy getting chippy with damn near half the Cavaliers rotation in that first half. So it was an awesome game from Julius, especially on the glass too. For him to have 11 rebounds is really important against a team with 2 7-footers in Mobley and Allen tonight. And then, eight assists, that buys you some leeway with the 4 turnovers. So awesome night for Julius. I thought that he's been really strong the last week or so and continued that tonight.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, down 4 at halftime, but again, ended that second quarter on a nice little run there, that last 60, 90 seconds, and then carried that momentum into this monster third quarter. Again, 43-22, 21-point advantage to really build a huge lead. At the time, that felt like the big turning point. But you tell us, Jack, was there one moment, one sequence that really ended up feeling like kind of the difference when they started to really put it all together there?
Yeah, for sure. It was right away out of the third quarter. Like I said, excuse me. Like I said, Randall personal 7-0 run, and then that ends up ballooning into a rather large Timberwolves run. I think it ended up being 12-2, and then I think it ended up being something around 26-7. Cleveland during that time, the first 6 minutes or so of the third quarter, had made three field goals to 3 turnovers. The Wolves, meanwhile, were 4 of 5 from 3, 5 of 8 from 2. And scored a combined 11 points off of second chance and turnovers. And, to do that in a 6-minute stretch, anything over 40 for a game is awesome. Yeah. So for them to be able to do that in less than half a quarter was great. And the Timberwolves are really sharing it. It was a really egalitarian offense for most of the night. And, they had 6 assists to Cleveland 0 in that first half. So I thought they're in the first half of that third quarter. So the way that they shared it against a team like Cleveland that was top 5 in assist percentage, 4th in overall assists the last 5 games. They did an excellent job just kind of converting this Cleveland team into mostly an isolation, pull up, pick and roll shooting team in the early part of that third quarter, and it ballooned. They ended up winning the third quarter 43-22 to blow this game open, and they needed every bit of that differential with the way that they closed it. But it was awesome to see the Timberwolves for the second straight game come out and just kind of with their hair on fire in the third quarter and just kind of dominate the opponent.
Plenty more deep dive. What we'll be talking about tomorrow, plus biggest X factor tonight for the Wolves. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. Ever go check your bank account, go, where'd my money go? Dining out, online shopping, entertainment, so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Not just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, your spending. It's all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and instead you start building some wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You're getting 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, without a doubt, most fun I have playing daily fantasy. You can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season, and why I love it. So easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players. You pick more or less on their projected stats. Could be points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers, you name it, they got it. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. You get a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. 100% bonus match up to $100. All right, Jack, before we get into what we'll be talking about, biggest X factor tonight.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
You mentioned it, all 5 starters in double figures again tonight. 4 guys with 22 points or more. Not to mention, again, DDV, Jaden McDaniels, really going beast mode off the bench there as well. Got to pick one, though. Biggest X factor tonight for the Wolves. Who was it and why?
Yeah, for me, it was Anthony Edwards' post and mid-range game. I know we normally go with a player, but I wanted to go with a specific aspect of Anthony Edwards' game because it was really on full display tonight. And it was a big reason why Anthony Edwards had 9 assists to go along with his 25 points on 20 shots and what was still a very efficient game from Ant. So Ant tonight scored just 6 points on 10 shots in the mid-range. So you might hear that and give you some pause of, it's not very efficient. As everybody who listens to the shows knows that I'm more analytical and would generally maybe criticize that. But I thought that Ant getting into the mid-range and specifically in the mid-post, I thought changed the entire way that the Cavaliers defended the Timberwolves as a team tonight. So in the past, we normally have seen teams who blitz or double Ant in pick and roll, send him totally east to west, and he just tries to sprint around sprint around that double and then either get all the way to the rim or kick the ball to the opposite side. And that just takes a lot of energy when you're doing that over and over again on the offensive end of the floor. And so for him to be able to calmly get into the mid post and that kind of low box extended on the baseline and be physical against a smaller defender that, the opponent might put on him because they want to put somebody who's, quick enough laterally to stay with Ant. The Cavs brought two a lot from the high side, not the baseline side. And so Ant did a great job of playmaking out of that, kicking the ball out. And the Wolves did a great job of swinging it. There were so many possessions tonight where the Wolves made extra pass after extra pass to pass up a wide open shot to get an even wider open shot, which was awesome. And it's just super rare for a defense to send two to, just kind of anybody posting up nowadays, but let alone a guard posting up, which just creates some really odd rotations defensively. And, I just thought that, again, the way the Timberwolves, swung the rock from side to side, everybody got a touch and everybody got, really optimal looks, I thought, for the most part in this game. I think the only hole you could maybe poke was Nas only taking 6 shots in this game. But outside of that, Jaden 14, Julius 21, Rudy was 5 of 5. Dante took 13 shots, 10 of them threes. It was just incredible the way that, that wrinkle that Ant has layered in has just totally, served as an excellent counter to teams that want to play that way against him. And I hope that they continue to go back to that well, because it was really, really important for the Wolves tonight. Ant had 9 assists, created 22 points, to go along with that. So just a phenomenal playmaking night for Ant, who had 9 assists to go along with what seemed like a subdued scoring night for him, which was 25 points, which is awesome.
25, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where that bar is set. Quick hitters, kind of empty the notebook real quick in the last couple minutes. Ant, some early foul trouble again tonight. Is this a trend you're seeing? Is something maybe I shouldn't worry about? And again, any other kind of noteworthy observations you've got as well?
Yeah, for sure. I thought the Wolves, you can stick with Ant, I guess. He was in foul trouble for the second straight game here at Target Center in the first half, and hopefully that's not something that's going to be a trend for him. He very rarely has been in foul trouble over the course of the last couple of seasons, for sure. So that's just kind of something to keep an eye on. I thought the Wolves pick and roll defense was pretty bad for the most part tonight as it pertains to guarding the 2 players in the action. I thought the Timberwolves did a really bad job of fighting over screens and had to kind of play on guys' hips behind the play. And Garland and Mitchell both were kind of able to stop and elevate and get to the free throw line a few different times. And they both had a bunch of wide open looks in the paint in that kind of floater range. Those 2 guys are both lethal at playing there. And then, they mixed in dump offs to Mobley and Allen the way that they usually do. So I thought that they were really effective in that. But for the most part, the first 3 quarters, the Wolves did a great job of, following the game plan in spot up situations in terms of, when to close out to touch, when to close out to flush, those types of things. I thought they rotated well on the backside for the most part. And then the fourth quarter, that obviously fell apart with Sam Merrill going absolutely bananas. But I thought that's kind of my biggest red flag between that and then the Timberwolves bench tonight only being able to muster up 19 points on 7 of 16 shooting. So
this is what you'll be talking about.
About 90 seconds left here, Jack. I think it's just funny because since that Atlanta game when they no-showed, everything kind of went to hell that game. They've ripped off 4 in a row, really started to heat back up. And both offensively and defensively, correct me if I'm wrong, but looking like a very complete, well-rounded team right in the thick of things right now in the West, as you mentioned. Spurs, Nuggets, Lakers, Wolves, all right there. Really just big picture in general, Jack, really feels like this team is starting to kind of turn a corner right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, it just feels like the most seriously they've been taking all these games, right? I think when the calendar kind of turns to the new year, I think teams that have been in the playoffs kind of done their feeling out process and really kind of start to, press the accelerator to the floor. And that's certainly what the Timberwolves have done. I think their attention to detail with game plan has just been really sound in terms of shoring up some defensive miscommunications and just playing harder, winning 50-50 balls and all that stuff. So, this Timberwolves team, this includes the Atlanta game. They're 5th in offense, 6th in defensive rating, and they have a plus 14 net rating, which is 3rd best in the NBA over that stretch. And it's only going to get better for the most part after tonight's game. So I think, again, a lot of stuff to really be happy with the way the Timberwolves have played, and their best player looks like a bona fide first team All NBA guy who probably isn't going to make his way too heavily into the MVP conversation, but it is kind of on the outskirts there. Rudy Gobert is surging in the Defensive Player of the Year odds has just been excellent. And then they might be getting some reinforcements, I guess, somewhat soon. TJ Shannon was in a boot on Tuesday. He was not in a boot tonight, and he's going to be reevaluated on Saturday. So hopefully, he'll be back sooner rather than later, just as another option that they can go to as, the minutes at times, but from Bones and Mike and on a certain level, Jalen Clark have been just a little hit and miss. But for the most part, those guys have been playing. As a bench collective have been playing better over the last handful of games.
Last 30 here. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, third youngest to hit 10,000. Just what's that mean for him, and really what's he mean for this franchise? How cool of a moment was that too, by the way? You were there at the Target Center.
Yeah, really cool to see him get an ovation for that. We all know what Kevin Durant means to Ant. We all know what LeBron means to Ant. So to see him up there with those guys, especially how shaky, parts of his career started in terms of how inefficient he was at the start of his career in the last, 2+ seasons now, just legitimately Steph Curry like 3-point shooting on 40% 3-point shooting on 10 threes a game is remarkable. And the next 10,000 is going to come a heck of a lot quicker with how deep his bag is getting and how efficient he's been and how available he's been too, which is probably his best asset. So really cool night for Ant. Great win for the Wolves, and hopefully they can keep going Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, sir. Great stuff, man. As always, T-Wolves keep beating up on the East, 131-122. That's your final versus Cleveland tonight, 25-13 now, 12 games above 500. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game as well. Like and subscribe, please, if you haven't already. And got to go follow Jack at Jared Borman 13. We'll catch you back here Saturday. Got an afternoon game, this time on the road in Cleveland. Noon tip for that. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.